rookie from Indiana State, has had a really good start to the year with the bats.
Whoa!
Okay, welcome everybody. We have Jarrod and his dad Sean Watkins, and we're here just to catch up. So Jarrod, what was it like as a kid growing up as far as your hitting? How did you see yourself? And did you feel like you wanted to play in the big leagues when you were a young player?
I thought I was a pretty good hitter. I would go in and just try to hit the ball hard, and I didn't really worry too much about my swing when I was younger. And I've always wanted to be in the big leagues. When I was younger, my dad played, and I always went to the ball games and watched him. And so from a young age, I've always wanted to be a big league player.
Sean, yeah, this is Jarrod's dad, Sean. Sean, you played professional baseball. Give everybody kind of a background of what you did, just a little bit, just kind of briefly.
Yeah, I played about 4 years. I was drafted twice, actually. Once out of high school. I went to college, drafted my junior season, played 3 years in the Padres organization with Texas for a little bit.
Right.
And finished up. I went to Tigers spring training and played a year in the Atlantic League, which was the first year of the independent league for the Atlantic League.
Well, indie ball these days is it. I mean, it's an extension of the minor leagues. Actually, it's higher. It's up high A, double A in some cases, and triple A level now. But
the facilities are.
Yeah. Oh, the facilities are big league.
Yeah.
The facilities in independent ball are big league now. Well, in college now too. At some places, but. What was it like when you first started to feel like, at every level, Jarrod, at every level, the pitching gets more difficult, and good pitching is always going to get out good hitting. Mm-hmm. So as you started to notice that, you tell me about how you felt out in the field, playing second base, playing shortstop, versus your hitting when the pitching started to catch up a little bit.
I was always, I'd never really worried about my defense. I knew it was always there, and it was just kind of like a thing that I put in the work, and it was just out on the field. I would just do what I put in, and for hitting, it wasn't like that when I got to better pitching and stuff like that. I was kind of confused.
You get jumpy, you get strung out, you're early, you're late. Tell me some of the feelings that you had when you first started struggling, because I know that carries on into later when you got into college.
It was just kind of like confused because I would take really good BP. You know what I mean? I wasn't worried about like getting beat in BP or anything like that. So I was basically kind of like I would say somewhat a 5 o'clock hitter on some days because my BP would feel good. And the game I would, it was like a first at bat thing where if I didn't get a hit, then I kind of was in my head like, I'm probably not going to get a hit this day. I was kind of fighting to get a hit then.
Right. Sean, what did you see? What did you see as you're watching your son? You knew he played great defense. What were you concerned about? Because you were a really good hitter naturally. You didn't get much, as you and I have talked. Yeah. You didn't get any instruction from anybody. You just got up there and squeeze the sawdust out of the handle and just start, swing hard in case you hit it. What were you feeling about your son coming up as far as, were you concerned a little bit about not getting the information? Because I know that you were seeking answers, at some point, right?
Yeah. I mean, when they're young, I wasn't too concerned when he was young because you figure, well, they're going to grow a little bit and they'll start catching on. And I just probably about the time he got into high school, he's kind of struggling with some of the same issues, and he wasn't progressing like I thought that his ability that he could. And he just, it was inconsistent. He did have one real good year his in his high school season, his junior year, good enough
Okay.
to where he was very consistent, but really it was just inconsistencies and miss hits and out front, late, things like that.
Well, for you, Jarrod, tell me what it felt like to you. Try to dig deep. I know it was a long time ago, and I know things have transformed for you, so it's hard to go back
Yeah.
and to really feel like, well, what was it like? What was the pain like? I mean, because it's painful. I mean, there's going to be people that are watching this that are in serious agony. I mean, you remember how visually upset you'd get. And what I mean by visually upset, because I remember this, not too much. I've had to really dig in to really remember this, but you hit a home run, and then, man, you're the one shagging balls, and you're running around the field. And if you hit a home run the game before, you're running down balls and you're all excited. And then if you don't do well, you don't even want to show your face in the clubhouse. You're just like, you kind of got your head down and you feel like you don't matter.
Yeah.
What was it like? Try to remember back of what it felt like in high school. You said you had a good junior year. What happened in your senior year of high school?
It was like I had a really good year, and I felt kind of, when I first didn't get a couple hits, I felt pressure, and then to try to show that I could hit for like power and home runs. So then I would try to do that, and then it almost became to the point where like I didn't even want to like go to the field because I was so like upset from not being able to perform to my, because like I said in BP, I could do it in BP no matter what. I mean, it was just I was nice and easy, and then in a game it felt like as soon as the game started, my mind was spinning, and like I would be out on defense, and I really couldn't focus on my defense because I'm like worried about my next at bat, thinking before the at bat happens, I was thinking of ways to change my swing, and it was awful though. I really, honestly, I was like to the point where I was like, I'm not, if I don't, I don't see myself being consistent in college where I could even be a decent college player. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't do it during games. So
sure,
it wasn't that he had a good year. He was actually the area player of the year his junior year.
Okay.
So
junior year,
so you could imagine, where he just excelled to that point where it was a phenomenal year, I guess, for that level of high school. And, to go from kind of anonymity in a way to player of the year.
Sure.
And then I think the following year,
expectations.
He did,
all these expectations now. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where what I kind of saw is that it's like, wow, I think like he said, he wanted to prove that he could, it was a legit season, and that he had, could replicate it. So that was where I think the pressure probably started out, obviously.
You and I talk about a million different desperate fixes because we've all experienced that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
It would start where, like, say my first bat, I'd pop up and then I'd be like, all right, I'm dropping my hands. So then I would think about putting my hands up higher and try to do that. And then it'd be like, I'm chopping the ball. So then I go back to the middle and then I couldn't get my bat there. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try to toe tap, try to lift my leg up, just because I had no idea. And it was honestly, you only play 40 games in high school, but like your mind just races, you know what I mean? And it's almost like you've been playing like 150 games and you're only playing 30. So, I was mentally exhausted too. And it makes you more tired, and it didn't really make me focus on just, having fun. I kind of lost my fun for it because I didn't know what I was doing, so.
We're going to get back to that about being exhausted, because when you're making adjustments randomly with those, like we say, a million different desperate fixes, and you're looking through the lens of your mechanics to make all kinds of adjustments, and your timing is off, so you make a change with your swing, which is kind of silly, but it's all that we knew. No one told us anything different. So the idea of playing more than our regular season is just, it's exhausting. It's like, because you almost felt like it was kind of luck, you know.
Yeah.
It's like your luck was going to run out. But
Yep.
tell me, what types of problems did you have your senior year, and then you ended up going into college? So what were you going through your senior year as far as what did you see your problems were?
Yeah. And
You throw right-handed, you play second base
yeah,
and
yep.
shortstop.
I
So
throw
you're front
right
arm dominant.
and I bat left. So, it was almost like I was spinning my back foot and I wasn't really, I was spinning and kind of pulling off. So that would cause me to hit a lot of ground balls and flares to left field. And, so that's kind of what I was dealing with, and like just inconsistent. I couldn't hit my pitch. I was sitting on all pitches, worried about the curveball, fastball. I didn't really have an approach, so.
But what was it like in high school as far as the input that you get when you're struggling? What was that like? Because there's a lot of players right now that are hearing, try this, try that, and they've tried everything, and they're like,
yeah,
this isn't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of felt like just like you said, an overload of a bunch of stuff. Like I almost felt like a robot hitting because there was so much stuff that I was focusing on. Focus on this. Think of hitting the ball the other way, and I'm like, so I would try to do that and then do too much and inside out pitches, and not even hit them hard. And then like one guy would say, get your barrel out there. So then I tried to do that. And then I didn't really know how to get my barrel out there. So then I'd be super early and hitting the ball off the end to second, you know what I mean? So it was just back and forth going through different things. And it was kind of I'd say it's kind of annoying because I didn't know one, you know what I mean? Cause like it's hard to focus on even playing when you got so much stuff like that. So it was really frustrating though.
So you get into college and the game is speeding up, obviously. So tell me what happened your first year of college. What was that like? I mean, you'd played well your junior year, high school, senior year, you had your issues, but you're still a good hitter. You're still considered a good hitter.
Yeah.
Going into college, all of a sudden now the game speeds up.
So when I got to college my first year, it was kind of like we were playing fall ball and all that stuff. And, they were throwing me fastballs because I was a freshman. And I was just on time for the fastball. And I actually had a pretty good fall.
Good.
And then when they started to throw an off speed though, I didn't, I was out on my front foot and then they blow me in like with a fastball because they could, I'd never seen, when I was in high school, a person who could throw a curveball for a strike and then zip you in on the hands for a fastball. So it was kind of and then that's when my coaches started saying, oh, wait on your back foot, wait on your back foot. And then I couldn't hit anything. And then when you start to struggle in college, then you start to press too because you're like, I want to play. I don't want to sit for a couple of years. You know what I mean? I wanted to start as a freshman. So, and then you just try super hard to do what they say. And then it feels uncomfortable. And then they tell you that, hey, this is going to feel weird because you've never done it before. So you got to keep doing it. And it was just kind of like my mind was racing then where, I wanted to show that, I could listen to them. But then if I go back to what I wanted to do, then they would say, why aren't you doing this? Like, because you're not trusting it. So it was kind of like a thing where it was, like I said, baffling sometimes, where I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I have no idea now.
We know as hitters, we know when something is right. So when it's forced, when someone says it's not going to feel very good for a while, well, wait a minute. No, it either feels good right now or it's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't feel good right away, then it's generally not efficient. You're not going to run away from something that feels efficient. You're just not.
If I was hitting the ball well, they would say, oh, like you're doing what I said.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was so then like you think that you're doing it. And then when you're doing bad, they're saying you're not doing it. So it was kind of like a back and forth thing like that. So I always just try to do my best. That's where more pressure and like my mind was because I kind of just wanted them to like leave me alone a little bit, just because they were kind of like just making it worse because they kept saying different things too. It wasn't just like one thing about it. So like if like 1 week it wouldn't work, then it would be here, let's try this week, and they're saying it different or they're using a different movement, and it
What
which is
types of things would they ask you to do?
so. When I was younger, they would always try to tell me that I'm on my front foot. So
Okay.
I went to a nose stride. They made me go to a nose stride and hit the ball the other way.
Okay.
So I was hitting the ball the other way on like inside pitches against like 94 when I would face competition, like in college. And I'm just getting
Good luck.
getting blown up. And then I'd go back to striding without them saying that I could, because they wanted me at a nose stride. And then they'd be like, oh, what, like, you're not trusting it just because you don't get a few hits the first game, like, or hit the ball hard, like you're just going to walk away from it and you're not trusting it. So then I'm like,
here's what's scary. Here's what's scary, Jarrod. It's your career.
Yeah.
Someone is telling you if you don't do it their way. And what did they hit in college? 195 with just a bunch of punch and judies. And a lot of times, it's unfortunate because when a coach is all done playing, if they've never figured it out and then they go into coaching, they may get slick with explaining the plan that they learned, but that plan didn't work. So, they are genuinely trying to help, but to force someone into something, it's pressure. It's pressure. I bet you felt that. Yeah. Sean, what did you see Jarrod going through before he got to Indiana State?
Yeah, his first year, like Jarrod said, the fall was decent, but then, he's playing and they got him, and at the time he was probably, 165 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
They got him like spread out, like way past his shoulders, like literally no movement, no weight shift. And I was just like appalled. I mean, I was like shocked.
What were some of the things that you remember he was being told that he might not remember? Like that you're listening in, you were a professional hitter and he's saying, my coach is telling me to do this, do that. What were some of the things that you can remember?
Well, I remember one time he said he was, it almost started right away. When you talk to him on a visit and when you sign a letter of intent, they don't obviously tell you some of these things, but he said, I think like the first time they started working it in the fall, he hit a ball off a tee up into the right corner of the cage. So that was a pitch like set up down the middle or whatnot. So he pulled it up into the right corner of the cage, and the coach right away is like, nah, this ball is going to go to shortstop every time. I can remember him specifically saying that. I'm like, well,
it's like negative, just negative.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to, I tried to be positive, and I didn't know, but I was thinking, well, maybe he's just trying to work on, how they try to use an exaggeration drill or to try to,
Sure.
So I was trying to stay positive. I didn't want to be negative, but he it didn't take him long to figure it out. And then it was just like, then he went to a no stride, and it was nothing at all. Like he was just so spread out, and he his stature, he wasn't, he's lanky and a freshman, 18 years old, and he's trying to face, a higher level pitching for the first time. And now he's in a situation where it's foreign to him. He's not used to it. He'd never hit with a no stride before. And obviously they weren't teaching him the correct way to do a no stride. So I just felt, I felt terrible for him because it was like he was almost going backwards from where
when we met, I could sense in you the pain that you were feeling for your son, just because you've been through it. And I know, Jarrod, you'd heard every scenario, every coaching tip you could possibly hear, and it was going against what you felt was natural. Let's jump to Indiana State. So you get there, and you have a coach there that played some pro ball. So, a lot of respect, got to give him respect for that. Tell everybody what it was like at the beginning of the season. It's your senior year. You want to go play pro ball. This is your last season. What did you feel like?
It was so I just came off another good year. I hit 305 when I first transferred and was a leadoff hitter and did really well. And then my senior year, they're pitching me a little bit different. I could tell because they had video on me and stuff like that. So they were throwing more in, out, change ups, a lot more off speed pitches. And when the first game I went like 1 for 3 and I got like a jam shot or something like that. And then the second game I went like 1 for 3 with another like bloop. And then in my head I'm like, oh, like this is not how I wanted my senior year to start. Like just because
Cascading.
already, yeah, because like I wasn't hitting the ball hard and I would do it MVP. And I was just like, what's going on? Like I have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? And then I was like, maybe it's just I got to get my timing down. Like maybe it's early. But then it kept happening and happening. And I'm like, so then I would be early for a fastball. If I dead red knew where the pitch location and where I could hit it.
Right.
So like I was selling out to pitches inside and then they throw one down the middle or outside and I, wasn't ready for it. I'm missing my pitches and then it just kept falling down from there and back and forth. And I didn't really, so from the get-go, I was kind of lost.
So you got to a point where you felt lost. So when you feel lost, coaches are going to jump in. What were some of the things that you were being told?
Stay back, let the ball come to you. And my hand position, get more rhythm, go move back more, shift, or like move back farther before you go forward. Put your hands up, lean back before you hit, like kind of like a Bryce Harper or like a Matt Carpenter thing, where you're leaning, trying stuff like that. Toe tap, like just a bunch of stuff.
So let's take some of these one at a time. Okay, so got to weight back. Now, letting the ball travel. Now that's universal. Obviously you got to let the ball get to the right spot. So that's pretty harmless. It's not. Waiting back. Because I remember what you told me, and I remember the frustration that you had.
Yeah.
What does waiting back make you feel like when you're struggling and you can't get the bat out? What is it? Tell me a little bit about what you went through when you were trying to wait back and constantly hearing, stay back, stay back, stay back.
I felt like I was not competing at all because I would let the ball get way too deep. And it just felt like everything was stuck and I had no power. And I knew I could hit a ball far because I can do it and BP. And then I'm waiting back and my line drives that even I would hit line drives and BP, they weren't going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I wasn't getting anything in it. So I basically felt stuck. Like I felt like that I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like I just couldn't swing and hit the ball with authority. You know what I mean?
Because you couldn't get anything going. Basically.
Yeah. Okay. Like even like I was so far back and loading back before, you know what I mean? And then I would try to go as I'm already back and then the ball's by me. You know what I mean? My timing was messed up then.
Right. What about firing your hips? What about driving your hips? Was that something that you were being told?
Yeah, I was told that I wasn't really I was swinging kind of too smooth, it looked like. But in reality, it was just I couldn't get anything behind it. So they were like, you got to, fire your hips more. So then I would try to go, and then every ball I'd hit would be a ground ball to first base or second, where I couldn't – if it wasn't a fastball, I couldn't hit it. Like a hanging breaking ball, I would stay too far back and to the point where the ball would almost be in the catcher's glove as I was swinging.
So at the beginning of that season, his senior year, you want to play pro ball. Tell us a little bit about your defense.
So my first year, I was MVC all defensive team. My second year, I only had 6 errors. And I didn't get the all defensive that year, but I got a really strong arm, throw about 90 from shortstop. So on the back end of the double play, I can really turn a double play really quick, and I could. So it was that's what I was. I was in a big role of turning double plays and helping my team out like that.
What were
Yeah.
you thinking his senior year, at the beginning of the year? He wants to get drafted.
In my mind, it's like, you can't have a horrible year this year. He had a good year, like he had said the year before, but
Sure.
you want to still come out and have a real good year this year to give yourself an opportunity. And the more and more it went on, it just you could see the frustration in him, and I just thought that, gosh, I'd hate to see it end this way. On a kind of a sour note, I guess, the way he was playing. If I saw a video with like an instructor, I would watch it out of curiosity, just to kind of like gauge what I felt made sense, and just to listen to him talk. And a lot of the times I just like you said, when you play at a certain level, you kind of just know what's kind of right and what's wrong. And if you hear something that's so off the wall, you're just like, nah. So that's what most of it was. And I wasn't actively seeking it. I didn't have an answer, really. I just, and that's what was kind of really difficult to take, is knowing that, you feel really helpless, and you see the situation your son's in, and there really isn't anything more you could do, because it's like, you got 2 months left for 30 games left.
Yeah.
And
you were a former professional baseball player, and
right.
You were having trouble helping your son. You're thinking, how many other people out there have someone who really knows what they're doing and can decipher between someone who can actually help or not? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I could only imagine how someone would feel that, hasn't had any playing experience. They'd just be lost in the wilderness,
How do you feel about your mechanics right now?
Really good. I mean, I just think that it's simple. It's so simple. Like what I'm doing now, and it makes so much sense that I don't go to the park worrying about, my arms, my legs, and all that stuff. It's like I have a checklist type thing where, if I just keep my head there facing the fire, swing across my body, high ball approach, then I'm going to hit the ball hard. And then if I don't get a hit, then it's just baseball. It's like that thing that they say, oh, baseball, you have to get out sometimes. So right. So that's where I'm at right now.
So let's go back to right before you guys contacted me. So just out of the blue, the last game you played was in Michigan, and you struggled. You probably felt like the world was ending. Your career was over. It was going to be your last season. No hope for playing pro ball, from what you told me. How soon was it before you called me?
Well, the one thing you said that drew my attention was you had made a video about there's a hitting emergency, and there's so many kids now that are being so confused, and it's kind of a tragedy to see generations of kids now that don't even have an opportunity to succeed. And the other thing that you said that, you never hear anybody ever talk about, and, like Jarrod had mentioned and went through all the different fixes that coaches tried to give him, and not one time did he mention timing. Yeah. And I remember you mentioning on your video that you said, mechanics are something that's important, but, timing is extremely important. It's a key, and I can teach it. And there's people that say you can't. And, it struck me because, like you said, I think with me, I couldn't explain it. I tried to, but, it didn't really make sense probably, or it didn't really translate to like Jarrod. But I didn't know how to explain it, but I think I just had natural timing. And that's what intrigued me is like you said, I think in that video, people just kind of like, that guy's just got great timing, and I'd even heard that in pro ball. I heard coaches say that in pro ball, like, oh, that guy's he's just got natural innate timing. And that's something, you just got to try to practice it, but that guy's kind of got it.
And then when you don't have it, you can't teach it, kind of thing. That's exactly
you either
have
right.
it or you don't. Right.
And you said, I can teach timing. So right away, that kind of perked my ears because, like you said, it's always the same stuff recycled one way or maybe not. They even get stranger and stranger now on some of the mechanical stuff, but it's all mechanical stuff, And for the first couple of videos I watched of you, that's what perked my interest. So it was kind of and you can talk, maybe Jarrod can talk about it and give some of how he felt. But I kind of started talking about, hey, there's this guy on YouTube, Matt Nokes. You probably don't know who he is. I remember watching him play, and I said, he's saying a lot of things that make sense. Why don't you just watch some of them? And it kind of was one of those where it's like, it's another, what's this? This is a
Tell me what you're
thing.
thinking. Yeah, it's one more thing.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're thinking, Jarrod.
Well, I was going to say, he kept sending me them, and I would watch them, and like what you said made sense, but I was just like, oh, it's kind of too late. It's like super late where, I'm not fixable. I can't be fixed. And then he sent another video of the guy that you made who was hitting a $170 with like 6 home runs, and he was in pro ball about to get like released probably. And you transformed him to like 270 with 36 bombs, and he's in the big leagues now. And that was the day before. That was like legit the day that morning before we called you. He sent me that.
Oh,
I was like, But he had sent other videos like before. But he sent this one the day at Michigan, our last day there.
Right.
Michigan State.
Our first game there, and I did terrible. I was super upset. I would cry. I would cry every night, like walk around the hotel, go get some food and sit by myself and honestly like cry. Cause I'm like, this is not like who I am. And like my career's over with. And it's just like, I guess just go have fun now. Like try to help the team win. Like whatever I can do to help the team win now, where it's like, it's out of my control. I can't get a hit. So I'm going to try to bunt, hit and run, slap a ball to the outfield, do something.
That's sad because this game is not about helping the team. It's about you doing your job.
Yeah,
if you do your job, you will help the team. It's not about trying to be a team player in the sense of giving yourself up.
Yeah.
It's about being a sniper and a dominant force, a threat in the foxhole that people want to be with you.
Yeah.
And then your team will play better.
Look at the difference in the attitudes. Like one's a take charge. I've got complete control. The other one's almost like I'm a pawn that can just be wasted. I'm the guy that's going to fall on the grenade and maybe help the team win here in this one game. And I don't have any use for the team, because I can't individually do anything, So it's like a whole different attitude. And the Michigan State series is kind of, it's like anything. It's like, he was hesitant. Like I said, I think he's just thinking, this is, and what's this going to do anyway? It's like, how am I going to do anything from these YouTube videos anyway? Even if he is right.
Right.
And then I, dug more and more into it. And I think I saw your website, and then it's like, give me a call to see if this is the type of hitter that, or if you're the type of player that I want. I work with select hitters that are serious and are looking to play college or professional baseball. So I'm thinking in my head, well, I would think that he would want to take a look at Jarrod. He's in college at Division I level. I mean, what better opportunity for him to take someone under their wing and try to actually literally revive their season. But the Michigan State series was just horrible because it was one of those where he'd hit a couple on the nose and it was right at him. And then it would just be like breaking balls and just, little 3-4 hoppers to second with men in scoring position and 2 outs. And, you could just see, and, everybody,
deflated.
Yeah.
I've heard coaches literally say, if you think you're going to hit into a double play, strike out. I mean, it's like talking about not having faith in your players, right?
Well, I was to
Yeah.
the point where I'm like, my timing was so bad, and like I legit would go 0 for 4 with 4 groundouts to first and second. Where like I'm running down the line.
Just same thing over and over and over, right?
Where like I'm running down the line, like, okay, like this is the most embarrassing thing ever. I just done it the same thing, and it's like, and then like my coach will say like, oh, like take some more pitches, take some more, and it's like it's right down the middle. Like I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like it's not
right.
taking is not going to do anything. So I was in a pretty deep hole where like I was like coming to the ballpark where like I would go to the lineup and look to see if I'm even in the lineup. You know what I mean? Because like I was just like and I was to the point too where I was like, if I'm not, then someone else can for sure do better than me because I'm lost. I have no idea.
Well,
so
and that was it. Almost was starting to get to that point, you know, where they're like they threw a kid in, you know, once in a series, and it's like oh man, is this the writing on the wall? Where, you know, and then the kid goes in and gets a couple hits or something, and you're like, oh man, it's starting to cascade really bad. And you know, and I want to say something because it just pops in my head. You know, like Jarrod said, he'd hit the ball hard. You know, he'd smack balls around in batting practice. You know, so it's like he can hit a ball hard, drive it. And then in the game, it would just be like, you know, I can always like I'd say to him, I was like, it's like swing the bat, you know, let it go. Let it go. You know what I mean? That's what it looked like to me.
But it's hard when your timing is off. You can't let it go.
That's where my disconnect, my Achilles heel was, is I was thinking, well, his timing should be fine. I mean, he would just like get there and quit, you know, and then it's like let it go.
I think players reach a point where they think that timing is not a thing. Like you have that. If there's something wrong, it's got to be something mechanical because it's this innate timing. And they overlook it. And it's the single most important ingredient to hitting. When you hit the ball right at somebody, you feel like your luck's running out. Like, like I can't hit any more hard. Those were my hard hit balls. There's no way I'm going to hit more hard hit balls. So all my luck has run out. That's the kind of the feeling that you had.
After Michigan State, we went to Michigan for a weekday series, like Tuesday and Wednesday. The Tuesday game, I had hit 2 balls hard again right at people, and then absolutely just chopped 2 balls to first and second. And I can like remember calling my mom and dad on FaceTime and said, let's call Matt. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like, that's word for word what I said. Like what I said. And
okay, so it was actually you that came up with it. Okay, so because Sean, you suggested it.
Yeah, they had brought the idea to me, and like I said before that Michigan game, I said there's no point to call him. And right as I'm getting off the bus, my dad sends me that dude who hit 170, and you brought him up to 270 in like so many games. Like you had it explained, and I saw it, went to play the game, did awful, and then I called him and I was like, let's do it, let's call him. And then we called you that night, or like maybe it was the day before, and on our off day, and then I played the game when I was like, all right, like we can call him. And then after that game is when we called you. Like they had scheduled it the day before, and then we called you that night.
I think we were. Yeah. I think. Like I said, I found your website, and it's like send in your information. I was like, wow, this is like perfect, you know. So I think we were eating somewhere on the way back from Lansing, Michigan, back home. And I'm sitting there on my phone filling out your questionnaire about, you know, what type of player you were and all this. And, you know, sent it in. And, you know, like Jarrod said then, you know, I think it was you played one game at Michigan. So it must have been, you responded back with an email saying that you'd received it and that pick a time for a phone call.
Sure,
So we
sure.
we agreed to do that
Sure.
after the game. It was later after a game.
Sure.
And I remember then Jarrod was kind of nervous because he's like, oh, he was a major league player. He's actually it went from like a YouTube video of watching you to like this guy is actually calling our phone going to talk to us.
I
So,
couldn't
but I mean,
believe it.
I think he was excited too, to be honest with you. I mean, I wasn't there with him, but I think he was kind of. I know how he felt after we got off the phone.
So, Jarrod, you were on the road. Your mom and dad were at home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember the call. There being so much emotion, and that's how it normally is. There's all when people call me, they're generally they've tried all the self-proclaimed hitting gurus, and they're telling them to try stuff, and it doesn't work because they don't have the experience to know exactly the empirical evidence to know what works and what doesn't. And they try everything, and then they eventually say, okay, well, we got to come to somebody who knows what we're talking about. But I just remember the raw emotion and being a senior in college and being a top level player that you were. And I asked you if you wanted to play pro ball, and you made it clear to me that you just felt like, this is my last year. I don't want this to stop. So immediately I could tell that you were going to be resourceful. And I asked you, I said, I need players to be resourceful. Your coaches aren't going to let you bring your iPhone in the dugout. So I needed to see batting practice. And so you got, what'd you end up doing? Getting the media guy or something?
I had our media guy, they would all be down there. He'd be filming us hitting and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, hey, can you just film me and just send it to me so I can check out my swing and try to figure this out? And then he did it he did it every day for BP. And then I just sent it to you.
Yeah. And you don't have to tell any of your other coaches. You don't have to make a big deal about it. After hearing what you were going through, and I remember telling you, because you were telling me some of the things that you had been heard or that you've been told. And I was just giving you permission to do the things that you knew were true deep down.
Yeah.
Well, I just, I think I told you that Jarrod's always been a kid, that's really worked hard for whatever he's gotten.
Sure.
He was never the biggest, the strongest, and he always worked his butt off. And, unfortunately, sometimes, just because you're working hard doesn't mean you're working right or doing the correct,
right.
So, and, I knew he really wanted to do it. It wasn't something that was like, it's not that big of a deal. I got a job lined up after college. It's like he wanted an opportunity to play professional baseball.
Right.
And I felt, for me personally, it really hurt because I felt like I kind of failed him, where I tried to do everything I could, and I fell short, I guess.
I could hear that on the call. I could hear that.
Yeah.
And that really moved me there.
And your response was, Sean, you did everything you could, and that's fine. You did great.
Yeah. The next day after we had our talk, we had like a 4-hour FaceTime, and you just kind of told me the absolutes, like go forward only, make sure you go at at certain things and keep your hands right there. And
we got specific with what you were doing and giving you permission to do the things that were more instinctual for you. How'd you do in the games right away?
And then I went to Michigan and I hit probably the hardest line drive I've ever hit, and it knocked the second baseman over because it was like a low thigh high line drive, and he kind of like bent, like squatted down to get it, and as he got it, it blew him back like that. And I actually went 0 for 4 that game, or 0 for 3 with a walk, but that was my last at bat. And so from there, it kind of built confidence. And then from there on out, I started killing it. My next game was against Evansville. I only hit 300, but I was still learning stuff. Like they were mostly lefties. And then you told me the lefty approach thing.
That's Valparaiso. You played.
Oh, Valpo was next. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So tell me
I
about
went,
that. Tell me about that.
I went 7 for 11 and hit the heart and hit my first home run and had like 4 doubles.
And this was how long after we had talked and then had our first meeting?
So we talked Tuesday,
Week.
and that
Oh, yeah.
happened.
Plus.
That happened on Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like 7 for 11, and like every ball he hit was like on the screws.
I
The
had you
first ball,
focused on timing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the first ball he hit at Valparaiso, there's a guy on first base, and he hit it so hard. You know, that's what I noticed. Like the how hard he's hitting the ball. That's like professional level. You know.
So I would always get on deck, and he sat right kind of by the dugout, just up a bit. And I remember my first at bat, I kind of went early. I still got a hit, but I kind of went early, and I was going early, and I was fouling a lot of pitches off that like at bat. And I remember he sent it to you, and right away you sent back and said he's just going early. And then I just look up at him on my next at bat, and he just kind of gave this motion like go at release. So I said okay. And then my next at bat, I hit a home run.
Yeah. It's when a coach gets to go to every game, and that's what I get to do. I'm at every game. I'm able to just see what's going on in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm there, and it was fun because you were picking up to this really quickly. And
I think the biggest thing too was getting you the videos of BP, and then you kind of fixed my swing there, because like that's where I was, I was just starting to learn about what you were teaching. So I would show you in BP, and then after BP, I would go back to our cages and work off the tee about what you were telling me. And so I think that was the biggest thing too, was like just getting you the BP videos, and just helping me out with that.
So, okay. So at the beginning, when we start working, I send you a packet, and part of it is a Ninja bat, right?
Yep.
So you get the black Ninja, and so you bring it to the ballpark. Of course, at first we all try to, players try to hide it, So tell me how that went over.
So at first it was kind of like a thing where I brought it out, and people were like, what are you swinging? Is that a wiffle ball bat? Like, why are you swinging that? And like asking me questions. And I was just like, oh, I'm just swinging it, try to get some bat speed up, swinging a heavy bat, like, and then swing a light bat. Just, I didn't tell them.
Just avoiding the question. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they kind of left me alone, but they would always make fun of me. Oh, here comes Jarrod with the wiffle ball bat and stuff like that.
Right.
And then after I started doing so well and started hitting better, everyone started swinging everyone would come out like with me. I'd do my rehearsals, and they'd be like, let me get that bat, because it's good luck.
You were doing your rehearsals on the field? Okay.
Yes. Like on the foul line right there. Like, so like we would take infield, outfield. I'd come back in, grab my bat, and go out there and watch the pitcher, do the stuff that you told me to do, snapping drill and all that stuff. And and then at first they didn't touch my bat. They just made fun of it. And then I started I started going crazy and hitting well, and next thing you know, 4 or 5 different kids who were in the starting lineup are like, let me get that bat. And they swung it a couple times, and if they got a hit, they kept doing it. And even if they didn't, they would still do it. They just thought it was like a good luck charm or something like that.
When we first met, basically, you said you were at Michigan, and what were you hitting at that point? And then how did you progress? So let's go through all the numbers, everything that you extrapolated.
Okay, so before we met, I was hitting about 230, 235 with 2 doubles, about 3 or 4 RBIs, no home runs. And then when I started working with you, I finished the year at 306 with 2 home runs, 33 RBIs, and 15 doubles. And I hit overall, when I first started to work with you too, after that Michigan thing, I hit about 430. I hit 405 in conference play, and I hit 495 with runners in scoring position after I started to work with you. And I I was second in the league in batting average. The guy in front of me was at 407, and I was at 405. But
Jeez.
I led the league in doubles, RBIs, and was third in home runs. Like one guy had 4 in conference home runs, and I had 2. So I pretty much was
in
like
conference. Yeah.
yeah, like in our conference, I was pretty much leading every category but one.
So you all of a sudden, I mean, obviously the 3 things that I give my players is your mechanics are brutally efficient, which you were able to get. Once I saw your batting practice, we were able to get you in a place where your mechanics were efficient.
Yeah.
So then you were able to set that aside, or at least let them calm down and trust your timing. And then we got your mindset right. And then once you had the mindset right, then we got your timing down. And the timing is a part of your mindset. It's a part of your zoning. It's a part of that. And then, of course, you're just trying to keep a consistent, efficient swing so that the timeline is the same. So, but yeah. So you had a fantastic year. I thought you should have got drafted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, but getting you to the best place in pro ball and any ball, it was literally the best facility, the best place, so that your job now is to get to a place where you're just clicking the ball. You're everything that you would be doing if you were an affiliated ball. You're doing one thing. You're getting to a point where you can hit your pitch and you don't miss it. So it's you'll go from where you're at. I have no doubt. You'll go from where you're at to AA, and you're right at the door, because you can play in the big leagues right now in the infield. I mean, easily you can play in the infield. And as far as the hitting, your only job is just to be able to click your pitch, and you'd be doing that whether you're in rookie ball, low A, high A, AA, and rookie ball, low A, and high A is lower than where you're at right now.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
You're actually playing at a higher level. What did you think when you first you're playing with the Southern Illinois Miners? What did you think when you first got there? I mean, you were playing with guys that had a lot of experience. Tell me a little bit about some of the experienced players on your team.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I first got there. I was the only college position player there at the time. There was like college pitchers there, but I was the only college position player who came just straight out of college. I was the only college position player there at the time. There was like college pitchers there, but I was the only college position player who came just straight out of college, like from to there. But everyone on our team, besides like 3 or 4 position players and some pitchers, were pretty much in like high A or AA for an affiliate team. And so I like when I first got there, it was kind of like, nerve wracking. They were a bit older and I was a young guy, but I settled in once I got there.
Yeah, and you had a great season. You had a great first season. It's fantastic. So you had your great season, your first season under your belt, and you had a good workout off season. You gained some weight. You got a lot bigger, and you worked out real hard. And so next you come to San Diego. That was a blast. So just coming to San Diego, it was really good to just, having such a close connection with you guys. It's like I've known you guys forever, and it's just a great feeling. But when I got to see you, it was kind of like,
it was like we were almost like you're our brother. You know what I mean? Like we went out to go see it, and like we've been knowing you this whole time. Like we just saw you, and we went out to eat, and then we just got to work. It was super fun. It was like you said, like there was no nerves or like, you know what I mean? Like we just clicked right when we got in your car, we just started talking baseball and a bunch of other stuff. So it was awesome.
Yeah. So we get out on an open field, and I start doing these things. First you do your rehearsals and stuff. And I kind of lay it out for you, and I say, you're going to be hitting balls farther than you could ever imagine because of the way we're going to be doing these moves. And you're going to be able to literally repeat and hit balls. So tell me what your reaction was. You're going to we started out in going opposite field down the line. I mean, I was saying, okay, I want you to hit this ball right down the line. And you were hitting it to the fence. Now let's set this up. Straightaway center is 420, 390 something in the gaps, and 365 down the lines. It's a giant field because they had it set up for soccer and a whole bunch of other things. So it wasn't the typical baseball field. So to hit it to the fence is ridiculous. Those would be normally home runs in a normal field. But so what was that like when you were able to hit it when we first started out going opposite field and you were clicking it? Tell me what you felt.
Oh, it was probably the best feeling in the world because I didn't know I had that kind of power. Like even on soft toss, like where you were telling me this and it was happening. Like it was like you're going to be hitting a ball to the fence. And like when you first hear you say that, like you're like, okay, like maybe I will. But it's almost like that thing where like, let's see if it's true. Like, let's see if it actually happens. And I remember the first ball you hit, I hit the ball on a line and it went to the wall. And I was like, wow. Like and then like right there, it gave me confidence where like you said, like you just gave me permission to hit a ball on soft toss to the wall. You know what I mean? And it was like,
in soft toss.
Yeah.
Right. You're hitting the ball 385 in soft toss.
Yeah. And it was like where, like the weight off my shoulders were like, because like, you know, like at the time you're like, oh, I can hit a nice line drive there. And I really, you know, didn't know, you know, cause I've been working hard lifting too. So I was like, but I could always hit a ball hard. Like my dad said, in BP and stuff like that. And then like, you really showed me like how to really use your body and like put weight on the ball and like just basically hit the crap out of it. You gave me permission to do that.
I mean, the idea of and the other thing is to be able to repeat, to be able to hit ball at the same depth, same spot, and drive it. I mean, it's fun to watch as, you know, as your coach. And when I watch players over and over as they do this, there's always a shock in there, you know, but, you know, you were impressive. Impressive. And we did it for a couple of days, and being out on that open field, you would have never been able to really get a sense of what we were really doing if we only were in the cage, right? Because it's hard to visualize the cage. We did it, I think, the first day at the beginning, we did it, in the batting cage.
Yeah. And I couldn't really, I like couldn't really tell because like you were talking about the lines and like the, you know, so I like couldn't really tell, and I really wasn't. I don't think I was doing it right. And then like you showed me on the baseball. Yeah. I was just doing basically like what you were saying, and then you kind of went out to the field and like showed me the lines and then that's when I started to like figure it out.
Right, Sean, what'd you think? What were you thinking when he was hitting these balls consistently? I mean, he hit probably 100 balls around because we had 2 buckets, and I would say 95% of the balls were launched. I mean, ridiculous.
Absolutely. Oh,
and what were you thinking at the time?
What I was thinking was that it looked like a high-level professional hitter. You know, I think I made a comment that I don't know if I could have hit balls like that if you would just grab me when I was 22 and start flipping me soft toss from the side. I don't know if I could consistently do that, you know. So to see him do that and to understand, you know, what really impressed me is how, you know, Jarrod really picks up stuff quick, and he you know, he really trusts you, obviously. He believes everything that you're saying, and then he can perform it. And, you know, you told him I think you had used a 1 cue about more whip, less effort. And it was like, bam, 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 right there. You know, he was like performing on cue. Yeah. And to see that, you know, having played at a high level, I was impressed, you know. I mean, so it was remarkable to watch, you know. It really was.
There was a point, Jarrod, when you eased up just a little bit, because when you hit your best shot, you always leave a little bit on the table. And it's because you need a little bit of that to focus the energy. It's like driving a nail. You got to drive the nail. You can't bend the nail or the energy is dispersed. And all of a sudden you got that whip going.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, you're obviously prepared for the season this year. I'm really excited about it, but we had a great 3 days. I don't think we laughed more than talking baseball.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. The three of us had a lot of fun talking baseball. It was awesome. And talking about.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed myself.
Wish we had more time, but I told him before we went out there. I said, and he was swinging good. Anyway, he faced a big leaguer back here at home, live BP, and was hitting him hard.
Right.
But I told him, I said, we're going to go out to San Diego, and Matt's even going to make you sharper. And I think the biggest thing seeing you in person is like it said earlier, sometimes it's easier in person to demonstrate, I guess, and just meeting you and then putting that together and polishing a couple of things. But it wasn't a lot, was it? I mean, there wasn't really a lot of things at all.
No, and what it was is that I was watching you hit back home, and I could see some things, how you were blocking yourself out a little bit, not from striding close or swinging across your body or anything like that. It's just that you weren't getting your bat speed in the right place, and so we shifted you around a little bit, and but not just randomly. Nothing's random. We got you set up so that you understood what you were doing, and then now all of a sudden you got the bat speed. You're not, because
like now too, after I took what you told me now and like my new stance and stuff like that about how I'm shifted more open, like I'm hitting balls so much harder. Like in BP, we have probably about 24 baseballs that like my dad has in our bucket. And, I probably hit about 22 out of 24 on the nose every time. And like the other two are probably just missed hits. But like, I'm saying like, I'm like really finding my depth, really clicking it like almost every time. And I'm like smoking balls left and right now where like I'm becoming, and like now it's not like getting to the cage either and being like, okay, it's just like a habit. I do my rehearsals and then, rehearse right before contact. I'm just like, all right, get there and contact. And then it's just like that. And then I go home and do it all again. And it's repeatable. You know what I mean? I'm just repeating that and getting good at like what you've shown me. And it's almost getting to the point where it's like, I could, you know what I mean? Like the first pitch of BP, I'm going to probably hit one pretty far.
Right.
Is where I'm getting to.
Well, every ball he's hitting is just so solid. And like getting to that rehearsal spot now and really understanding that and the high ball swing. He's repeating it and he's replicating the exit velocity. I mean, he hit a ball past me, I know, a couple nights ago, past my head where I could feel my arm. I hadn't even finished, my arm swing, and the ball's already past me. So, it's over and over, and
it's a far cry. It's a far cry from the launch angle, trying to fight gravity.
Oh God.
Right?
Oh, no fighting gravity.
That was something that you, I stole that from you. You came up with it,
Yep.
Why would you want to fight gravity? Well, it's true. It's like just because someone made the comment that the ball goes down, and it does, because the horizontal velocity is independent of the vertical velocity. So when the ball travels 60 feet, it drops 3 feet. So in 0.4 seconds, if you held the ball up 3 feet off the ground, it would take about 0.4 seconds to hit the ground. So so it's literally gravity's taking it down. And so people jump to the conclusion, it must be coming down like this, so I must have to go up like this. But the fact is that it's coming at 6 degrees, which is basically flat. Plus, visually, you're seeing it flat.
Right.
And obviously, it's a far cry from the whole misunderstanding of what launch angles means. Launch angle, obviously, we want a good launch angle. We don't want to get on plane too soon. You can't crack a whip going up. You can't,
Yep.
you know, you don't want to be fighting gravity when you're trying to swing. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to have you explain, without saying names, without saying organizations, just, you know, you have a lot of friends, let's just say. You got a lot of buddies who play pro ball. You got about 20 buddies who play pro ball.
Right.
And they're an affiliated ball. And you were getting text messages from your friends. And give me a scenario of what like, you know, one of the 20 people would say. I'm not word for word, obviously, but you know,
just one day they tell me that they can't get their barrel there, and then they would say, ask me for help, and I would give them a little thing, and then they'd be like, no, that's not what big leaguers do. They don't go from, you know, they don't sledgehammer or something like that. Said, okay. And then the next day he took some BP on soft toss and told me he's got it fixed. And then the next day he'd tell me there's something feels off. And then he'd tell me, like, what do I think? And I would tell him, hey, this is what I think. And then he'd say, I don't think that's what it is. And then he just kind of back and forth stuff where, like, he didn't know what he was doing. And, you know, he'd talk about, you know, I think my load's too big. I don't think I'm loading enough. I got to stay back more. It's just
extreme. It's one extreme or the other because they're fishing. Yeah. They have no idea. There's nothing concrete.
Yes.
And you're at a place where you know what your swing is. Even if your swing is 75% efficient, you don't care. It's like, well, I'm going to repeat that. Whatever it is, I'm fine with it because I know my plan and I have good timing. I could hit with a 75% efficient swing. I'm fine. It's not going to be, it's not going to interrupt my hitting because I know what I'm doing and I'm going to be on time. And if I could do it in soft toss, I could do it in the game.
Can I say something, Matt, here?
Absolutely.
You know, I was thinking about this, and, you know, you got these guys that are in pro ball and they haven't even figured out the mechanics part yet. And that's simple. That's like that's like little league stuff almost. It's like the mechanics stuff is simple.
But you're not taught that. You're taught that it's complicated.
Right. Oh, yeah. And they're making it even more and more complicated now, right? I mean, it's getting worse and worse.
It's getting worse and worse.
And, you know, I can only imagine someone trying to go find help. And if they took 10 minutes, they'd be even more confused than when they started, you know, with all the stuff that's out there. So, but my point is like, your plan is so more advanced. It's like light years. It's like a whole different level where you've got professional players that can't even figure out the mechanics part. And your tool, you know, that's all they got in the toolbox anyway. And that's just the beginning. You know, that's the start of that's the start of your plan. And then you go from there to the timing aspect and all the different things as far as that. And then the laser focused mindset. I mean, this is like a whole different level that these people don't even understand the very remedial stuff that's simple, you know, once the way you explain it, you know, everything you do is so easy to understand and comprehend, you know.
And you have minor league coaches who were minor league players or college players who I'm sure they did well, but if you didn't ever figure it out for yourself, that plan is off. There's something wrong with that plan. There's something wrong with the mechanic. You always have to have a mentor. You got to have a mentor, someone who understands it fully. Because, you know, a lot of people will say, well, he can do it that way because he's a big leaguer, he's a freak. It's like, no. If you're 8 years old, it's easier to take an efficient big league swing at 8 years old than it is to take some 8-year-old swing, an 8-year-old inefficient swing. In other words, a major league swing is easier for the younger players. It's easier for every player at every level.
Right.
A major league swing is not just something because major leaguers are strong that they can handle it. They don't do things.
Well, I've had coaches, Matt, right? And I'm sure you have too. The excuse of, well, they're freaks, you know?
Right. Oh yeah.
I had a coach that told me, well, they do stuff wrong, but they're they're, you know, he went even a step further. He's like, well, they're actually doing stuff wrong, but they're just these freaks of nature that can get away with it. Most people can't do that.
That's what they say.
And I didn't buy that either, even when I was 18, you know.
What most people see, what the amateur world sees, is hitting style. They don't see the brutal mechanic. They don't see the efficiency of the mechanics. They can't see it. They can't feel it. They can't see or feel what the better hitters are doing, but they can see the hitting style. They could look like the hitter because, you know, they'll do something crazy at the beginning or crazy at the end that makes them look like a player. It's kind of like those like caricatures that those artists draw with a big head, giant head, and a little tiny body, and you know who it is. Like, you know who it is. And so,
but it ain't quite you. Yeah.
No, it's not you, but it's obvious that it's that person. But and that's what they're seeing. They're seeing things that they think are relevant. They're looking at things that they see, oh, this must be important, when in fact it's not even relevant. It has nothing to do with your mechanics. But
you know, you brought up a good point there about the difference between seeing something and actually feeling it and teaching what the actual feel is and all that. That's night and day, right? That's the difference. And that to me, that getting back to what attracted me to you is like you were verbalizing stuff that I had felt before. I couldn't explain it per se as well as you did, or eloquently, you know, but I innately felt those things, and you started verbalizing things, and then you'd say something else. And I was like, oh, I know, I felt that. I know what he's talking about. I understand that. Right. So that immediately is what intrigued me as well, you know, when I first started seeing some of your videos.
Yeah. Well, guys, hey, thank you.